Jack Powers here. Glad that we have this opportunity to talk a little bit, discuss some of these issues. I did have a little trouble on the other device, so I'm just going to use this little handheld phone for today, and then I'll figure the rest of it out later. I'm trying to switch between channels. A lot of the YouTube stuff doesn't make sense to me, but of course it must make sense to the Google and YouTube executives, and that's really all that matters, I guess, at least for them. Reading a little bit of news about post-traumatic prison disorder. So what they're saying is it's kind of like PTSD. You go through a prison experience and you're going to be traumatized. I mean, I don't know many people who have been through the jail/prison experience and not been somehow negatively affected by it. So, good day, man. Good day to you. My bad. Yeah, I don't know many people that haven't been affected in some negative way. I know a couple guys that were able to navigate short-term confinement and not get too much off track, but it's all the same, one way or the other. You're going to have some kind of PTPD, not PTSD, but PTPD, post-traumatic prison disorder. So, this is also what they call impacted people who have been through this system and have been traumatized one way or the other. So I'm only seeing limited postings. So if I miss a posting, wait a minute, let me hit this one. Let me see what this is going to do. Okay, there we go. Anyway, the other thing that I was looking at was I was looking at Blood on Razor Wire, the Rosso program, and I was thinking about that whole thing because there was a lot of comments. Yeah, I did. There was a lot of comments that were made, on that particular program, and I read every one of them. And, it is what it is. I mean, it's obviously an addiction. Addictions are hard to deal with. One person said that, the prison experience always takes you out of your social abilities because time moves past you while you're just standing still. And I think that's fairly accurate. I'm not sure that it's, my own thing was to try to not become conformed to the system or get used to being in prison or being in a cage or going along to get along. I didn't do that too much. It was, what was in my mind was, hey, I don't like this. I'm not going to accept it. It's not something that I think is correct. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to conform. So I spent a lot of time not conforming. But yeah, it's kind of it's a little bit of a situation, but Yeah, you can fall into those things relatively easily and relatively quickly, especially when things are going good, because our minds just go back to these habits of thought, of emotion. It might have been there might have probably was some kind of triggers or something that, 3 years is a long time though. Yeah, one and done. Well, I hope so. Man. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're starting to look at things. There's more to that story than what's being said, or the way it's being said is not fully complete. There's more to that than what meets the eye, I'll guarantee it, because they're not, the U.S. Probation Department, they have new guidelines about all this stuff. Now, going out of state without permission, I was supposed to go out of state last week. In fact, I really wasn't even supposed to be back until the 15th, yesterday. So I was supposed to leave on the 6th of May and not be back until, hey Zeus, what's up with you, brother? I was supposed to leave and go out of the district, but I couldn't leave without permission. I went down, saw the probation officer at the courthouse, handed him a typed, printed itinerary detailing everything, most everything. And I texted him, emailed him, tried to call him several times. And, when I handed him the itinerary, he said, yeah, no problem. This should be good. You should be good for this. But was I going to leave the district without his permission? No, I was not. And I did not. And so he came out a couple days ago, just unannounced, hit on the door. I was doing some work next door, and I had a couple of things that I had to finish right away. But yeah, it was, I guess, a little checkup to see if I'd have went ahead and gone without his permission. So you have to be careful, because they're definitely watching, and they definitely think that everybody is doing something, even if you're not. But they definitely watch you very closely, most of the time. I'm certain of that. And they really think that everybody is, like I say, doing something. So it's like, okay, let me find out what this person is doing. But yeah, I think with Rob, I think he'd be okay. What they're gonna do is, this is my prediction, they're not gonna give him a 2-year violation. No. Not if it's just, he left the state, but he didn't do any crimes, get arrested in another state, anything like that. He came to his drug class or whatever, all fucked up or whatever, high or whatever, drunk, whatever, probably both. But I don't think that they're gonna, really, I think that's more or less a cry for help. I think he felt himself slipping away, going back into that old mindset and getting back on that merry-go-round. Henry, man, haven't heard from you in a minute. Oh yeah, no, I don't blame you, brother. It's cool, man. Wife and family, I think that comes first. It's got to come first, right? And then, you yourself, you got to come second, right? You got to have some me time. You got to get your rest and relaxation where you can get it. And Most of everything that's on here has already been Zeus says, I'm doing nothing wrong. Yeah. No, I know. I know. When you got a wife, when you've got little ones, when you've got responsibilities, when you know that those people are depending on you for their well-being, I mean, that's what a man does, right? That's what a man does. Steps up to the plate, takes responsibility, realizes that other people are in it. It's not just he alone, but other people are in the mix, and you do what you got to do to keep everyone safe and relatively content. Yeah, I mean, the manual program sets it out with the addictions and any bad habit that you want to break. I mean, hey, Ethan, how are you, my man? All right, man. But yeah, anyone that is, has all that background behind them, it's still there. It's still in the mind. It's still part of who you are. It's part of your experience. It's part of your life experience as a human being. So it's not going to go away, and it can be suppressed, or sometimes it can be, modified so that you're able to control it. But Rob probably felt that everything was slipping out of his control. Probably had some problems with his wife, his girl. Probably, like he said, after his dad died, he felt a certain way. Those kind of life events can throw you into a certain state of mind. There's a Sparky too. You didn't get notification? Man, I put up 2 community posts and 1 short. But yeah, you've got to own it, right? Sparky too, you've got to own it. You've just got to step up to the plate and say, hey, you know what? I got a problem here. Problem with the way I think, but it's a catch-22, right? Because the addiction itself is tricking your psychology. It's really ruling the way you think and the way you feel. And it's kind of just like, it's like an intense hunger, like a physical hunger. If you haven't eaten in a long time, you might think, yeah, I would never eat my best friend. I would never eat his thigh bone. But bet you will. Bet you will under certain circumstances. So yeah, I mean, it's just the raw necessity, or what's being interpreted as a necessity, just rearing its ugly head and saying, okay, I'm going to shut down the psychology here, and we're going to go with what we know. Yeah, smash that like button. But yeah, Henry, addiction is real. It does change the chemistry of your brain. And now they've got these drugs out there. I don't know about, fentanyl and this, what do they call it? Like a zombie tranquilizer and stuff. And meth. But I can only assume that some of this stuff, because I see people all the time, like on street corners and just here and there. And almost every one of them is doing something weird. Like a guy yesterday right at the stoplight on the corner, he was just kind of dancing. He was just kind of dancing like in little circles, and then he was bowing down and he was talking to himself. I don't know what he was saying, but those drugs, they fuck up your brain, man. They fuck up your brain, seriously. But again, It's like, okay, what's missing in my life where I need to rely on drugs or alcohol in order to feel good about myself? I mean, there's a thin line between having some fun, having a little bit of relief from the same old, and an addiction. Thin line right there. When you feel like you're going too far, you just got to put an end to it and say, nope, nope, taking a break here, and then just stick to it. Yeah, I really don't think, yeah, I mean, I don't condemn Rob. I don't, it's just, he's, I knew him way back in the day, and, he's like he is now. I mean, he's a good-hearted dude. He's a good dude. I mean, he wasn't above, the general stuff that goes on, but in a prison context. But I mean, he was a decent dude, as far as I knew, and yeah, I think it does come down to choice. I think it does come down to personal choice, whether you realize it or not. When you reach for that, or when you go to find that, or when you thinking about that, and make some kind of a decision to go ahead and do it. Yeah, you're making a choice. Now, are you aware that you're actually making a choice? Are you are people? Because I know that a lot of people say, well, the choice is made for me. It's the addiction. It's a disease. It's like any other disease. And I can't seem to break away from it. It seems to control me. And I think that you can break away from it. I think that it just takes some work. It takes some commitment. You just have to become aware of your ability to make choices. If you choose to do it, you can certainly choose not to do it, right? Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. It's definitely a choice when you go back after being sober, yes. Yeah. And after knowing what a heavy load that was on your back and what it did to you, to go back to it. But again, it probably happened little by little, gradually, and I don't know if it caused him to commit more criminal acts, or if it was leading in that direction. But yeah, it's, hey Peterstown, how are you, my man? Good to hear from you. But yeah, if it's just an addiction, then yeah, they definitely need to get him some treatment. Here's my prediction on Rob Rosso. They're going to say, look, they're either going to put him into a halfway house and give him some kind of program plan for treatment, or they're going to put him in actual residential rehab. And I don't think they're gonna throw him back in prison. I really don't. They're just not doing that not now. I mean, a couple years ago, yeah, they would toss you, but now they've changed their policies, and it just doesn't make sense. They got more than enough prisoners, trust me. They got more than enough people doing all kinds of dumb shit out there. They can fill up these cages. They can pack them up for the next 50 years, probably, with everybody they got out there now. So it's not like they're aching for bodies in these federal joints. Yeah, no doubt. Marsfield Lime, there he is. Yeah, treatment. they're going to give him inpatient rehab. I agree, Zeus. Inpatient rehab is what it's going to be like. But Marsfield Lime, didn't they send you to the halfway house? Did they put you in any treatment program or try to force that on you or anything? I know sometimes they do that too. They really just want compliance, and they want you to not commit any more crimes. And it's true that if you start, if you start using again, then yeah, I mean, the facts and the stats are just pretty clear. You're probably going to go downhill from there, and who knows what you're going to end up doing. But yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, Marsfield, that's probably what they will do with him. They're probably going to let him out, but with conditions, new conditions, and that's going to be some kind of rehab. If he needs to wait, then they'll probably let him wait, but it'll probably be at a halfway house, I assume, or something of that nature. Oh yeah. They're all nonprofits, but just because you're a nonprofit, that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you don't get paid. The directors and assistant directors and everybody from top to bottom. And the thing about it is, not only does it mean you don't get paid, but it means you set your own pay scale. And everybody else's too. If you're the director of a nonprofit, unless you got some other setup like a board or whatever, a board of directors, then you're going to single-handedly set whatever your wages and salary is. So they do get these big contracts from the feds. And, do you guys think it helps though? I've never even been close to any kind of inpatient treatment or anything like that. But yeah. Yes, and yeah, I mean, you got to get paid, right? Everybody gets paid. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But do you guys think that it helps? Is inpatient treatment for an addiction like Rob Rosso, is that going to keep him out of prison in the future? Is that going to keep him out of an addiction? Because isn't it like kind of, isn't it sort of up to the individual too, to just step up to the plate and say, look, I got to bite the bullet here. Whatever it takes, I got to get away from this. Yeah, only helps if you want to help. Yeah, it's, it's a constant thing. It's not going to get any better. There's probably millions of people who are addicted. Yeah, that's right, Wood. Yep. I think I think if he goes in there, though, and he knows, hi, Danielle. Yeah, Danielle knows about it, too. Only if he really, really wants to. If he doesn't see any gain in it. And look, maybe, some people just, that's why I say it's a catch-22. Because maybe you really want to at certain times, but then when it comes right down to where the rubber meets the road, it's like it tricks you. It tricks your brain. The addiction tricks your brain, right? So, yeah, it has to, you really have to be done with it. Yeah, I think everybody agrees that it helps, but you really have to be on board with your own treatment. And then what about the follow-up? What about day to day, like after you've I mean, do you ever really kick the habit? That's the question, right? Do you ever truly kick the habit? Is there, like, is it possible that something just strikes somebody at a certain point in time and hits them in a certain way at a certain place in their mind, and they just say, yeah, I'm done. I'm done forever. Done. Done. And they just really don't even have a taste or a desire for it anymore? Yeah, that's all. You guys are all heroes. You guys are all really cool. You guys are all really, really touches me because, you've gone through these struggles. Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing what you guys have done. And, the fact that you've just, you've really put your best foot forward and done a really great thing for yourselves. I mean, is it more of a benefit to you, the ex-user? Is it more of a benefit when you're not using than when you are? Do you get more out of life? Do you get more fulfillment, more happiness, more contentment when you're not using? Yeah, I think that's right, Zeus. Depends on what it is. Yeah, I think everybody's in agreement on that as well. Like, it's just better not to be in the clutches. Because, I mean, you're wasting a lot of money, right? You're spending a lot of money. You're spending a lot of time chasing it. You're running risks because of the people that you have to hang around, or the things that you have to do generally, or that you feel you have to do in order to stay in that realm. Yeah, Danielle, I agree. That right there certainly would have a huge impact overall. Because, yeah, if you're working, you're burning up all that boredom. You're burning up all that gunk, right? You're just working it off rather than trying to find a way out the back door. But yeah, I think he's going to be okay. He'll be back. He'll be back on YouTube. He'll be back. These things happen. It's, just part of life. And as you guys said, he just has to make good, solid decisions. And he's certainly smart enough. But like you guys know, it really comes down to personal responsibility. It really comes down to owning the entirety of it from start to finish, right? Like, not making excuses as to why, but rather just coming to the conclusion that, yeah, this is not what I want. It's not good for me. It's not good for my future. And ultimately, I am the owner of my own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And I own every choice that I make. And, I just need to know, and this is what he should be telling himself, I just need to know how it is I can be aware enough in the moment when that desire strikes hard. In that moment, how can I be aware enough to make a different decision? I always liked, I always liked, a lot of people didn't like Nancy Reagan or the Reagans. I don't even know if most of you guys probably don't even remember them. It was before your time, but in the so-called war on drugs, Nancy Reagan had this saying, just say no. Just say no. So, yeah, you make a choice, right? That's right, Peterstown. Yep, when you reach the bottom, you got to reach the bottom, and then maybe you see clearly enough how much of a pain in the ass it is, how much trouble it's causing. And, I mean, don't people just know that, like, routinely, that if you're addicted to some kind of a narcotic drug or something that's, heavy duty, that it's going to change your life and that it's not going to change it for the better? I mean, I've never known or seen anyone that I can think of whose life was made better by an addiction to alcohol, drugs, or anything, right? I've never known anybody whose life was actually better. Might help you get over certain emotional hurdles at certain times. Maybe you do have to take a day or two and just lose yourself somehow. But I don't know. I'm not in that field. I'm not. Yeah. Marsfield, I've seen more than a few. Yeah. A little bit of anger let loose. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they just kind of led you into it, right? Maybe curiosity, Danielle. I don't know. Oh, it becomes a physical and psychological dependency. So that's like a double whammy right there. Yeah, I guess, Henry, if you start thinking that you're not an addict or that you're not subject to become an addict, then that puts a little different twist on it and probably makes you much more susceptible to becoming an addict, right? Well, Zeus, I don't know. You know better than me, but you might be a little different story because of the pain and because of all the operations and stuff that you've had. If you've got chronic pain, that's a whole different story. I mean, sometimes you just need it in order to function. Yeah, yeah. That sounds right though. When, especially on TV, especially in the media, when you see these things, you're a little kid, and you keep seeing them over and over, and there's questions that you have that maybe aren't really covered by what you're seeing. Maybe it just drags you along, like your curiosity. Ooh, 15 surgeries. Wow. 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 Ah, that's a lot. That's a lot of surgeries. Yeah, I mean, people that are in chronic pain, you got to do what you got to do. You just got to do what you got to do there. You sort of got to roll with that. I mean, maybe limit yourself, but That's what I heard too, Marsfield. The psilocybin and the MDMA is being used experimentally to help with PTSD and depression. And yeah, I mean, it's, I don't, I think if it's, I don't know, I think if it's used for that purpose, and I think if it's proven to have some kind of, to work in some cases, then yeah, I mean, it should be subject to some ongoing testing, right? But yeah, I mean, I've got they say I've got the chronic PTSD and all that. I feel like I do have it at times, but it doesn't really, it's not something that affects my daily life. Yeah, ketamine too. Yeah, ketamine. I think what the psilocybin, the ketamine, the MDMA, I think what it does is I think it opens up your psyche a little bit. I think it brings a little bit more substance out of the center of your being. I think it just enlarges your psyche so that you can get a little bit different perspective, or a lot different perspective, on how things are going and how things work. Sparky too, man. You don't have to do that, brother. I appreciate it so much. Shout out to a Sparky. But yeah, I mean, really, seriously, I mean, you don't have to do that, brother. But I certainly appreciate it. But yeah, I think they use the low doses, and I think that there's some real benefits that can yet be discovered in all of that. I'm hoping that is some kind of a breakthrough, because otherwise the only thing I can think of is go to the central nervous system. I really think that the central nervous system, I don't think we understand its connection to the psyche well enough yet. Now, the ancients seemed to have understood, because they did use psychedelics in their rituals. They didn't use them every day, but they used them as a sacrament for special purposes. And it seems to have worked to get them, further along in their personal growth and development. But really, I think it just comes down to pretty simple practices. Like Danielle said, you get a job, you work. All you guys, a lot of you guys have said, hey, you got a wife and kids, you got a responsibility there. That's going to help keep your mind right. You certainly don't want to go back to prison, right? So, hearing things like Rob Rosso, it startles you a little bit. It's like, whoa, yeah, I don't want that to be me. I don't want to end up in that holding cell, looking at the wall and saying, my God, how the hell did I end up back here again like this? That'd be kind of hard to take. But yeah, I mean, hey, Jimmy Gunn. What's up, Jimmy? Good to hear from you, brother. Danielle, thank you. Thank you, Danielle. I hope to see you back again. Hope everything is well with you. You're doing all the right things. Neurogenesis. Yeah, yeah. Peyote. There you go. Yep, yep. Sweat Lodge. Peyote. I mean, they have. Thanks, Danielle. Thank you so much. They have, and they've known all of this, right, for centuries. I think we got to get back to our roots, guys. I think we got to get back to some of this ancient wisdom where, because they didn't have all those distractions. They didn't have the internet. They didn't have all these cars buzzing around everywhere. They didn't have people running to store to store to store. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't even know if I have a Cash App. I can certainly, I think I did have, but I'm not sure. I'm really challenged when it comes to, I mean, I understand, but getting everything in the right place. I'm going to ask my wife, though. I don't think so, Jimmy. I don't think they're going to, we were just discussing this, and I think if his violation is just leaving the district without permission, if he didn't get any kind of a new charge, because that's a Class A violation, and then, if it's a felony, of course, it's a Class A. If it's like some lesser offense, a misdemeanor, what have you, it's probably a Class B. Just a technical violation. I mean, yeah, could the judge put him back in for, the duration? He could. He's got the jurisdiction, the power to do it, but, yeah, I think they do forget. I think they do give up. Yeah. And I think there's just a lot of pain in the world. We don't always think of everything consciously that causes us pain. But there's a lot of stuff. Sometimes it's just in the air. Yeah, they should legalize. There's the cannabis thing is crazy, right? Just legalize it, get it over with, tax it, do what you're doing, help bring down that national deficit or whatever, who cares? But get that out of the way. This is just mindless stuff to me. But nevertheless, I mean, it's still, at least in some forms, it's still illegal. Not in every form, but in some. I think he got paroled. I think he was on parole. I think Rob was serving a life sentence. Jimmy would know more than I would about it because I think Jimmy knew him too from back in the day. But, hey, country. Good to hear from you. Hope everything's well with you, brother. Yeah, maybe, country, maybe. He's trying to go through focus court. But I think that was a good... Hey, Paul. Yeah, that was a really good... interview and a really good show that Chad had there. It generated just a host of comments, just like lots. Go look at all the comments it generated. But yeah, Henry, we've all effed up for sure. And technical violation, that's what I'm saying. If it's a technical violation, if it's a Class C violation, the judge, depending on who it is, probably isn't going to look at it like, it's probably not going to, it's not a new felony offense. So the judge is going to But again, if you're on lifetime parole, then that's a different story too. They're more apt to give you a little bit of time to get yourself back together or whatever. But who knows? My prediction is that he goes into an inpatient rehab. He might have to wait for a few months to get in there, and during those few months, I think they might put him in a halfway house. Maybe they put some other more stringent conditions while he's in the halfway house. That's my prediction. I predict he doesn't get a sentence going back, a sentence back, a prison sentence. But I don't know what the violation report is saying either. Could be a lot of stuff that's in there that got left out on the interview. So, Paul. Well, I mean, the technical ones, yeah, they're violations, yeah, and you just acknowledge. I mean, you tell them, if they got the violation on you, I mean, and the facts are clear and succinct, and you did it. You got to just admit to it. You just got to say, yep, I did that. What can I say? I'm remorseful. I'm committed to making this work, though. I'll go back. I'll do whatever I have to do to make it right. The judge isn't going to put you, Paul, the judge isn't going to put you back in jail for a technical, unless you got like a whole series of them, or unless you got a really, really poor judge. I don't see it. I don't see it. Not on a technical. Now, does that mean that the technical violations are just, it's minor stuff that you can just ignore if you want? No. Hell no. You got to pay attention to every little detail. I mean, you gotta stay on your P's and Q's. You gotta stay up, because they're watching, they're looking, and they're waiting too. I mean, you might have POs that want people to succeed, and I think there are, but there's those old school ones too that just want to tail you, nail you, and jail you. So you've got to watch. Yeah, that's what we were saying, country. These federal joints, these prisons and jails, they've got so many thousands of people. I mean, look at all the arrests that they've made, these massive busts that they've made over the past few months, especially the feds. I mean, really? You've got room in these jails? You got to put somebody in a cage? You're going to put them back into that environment for some minor, dirty UA or some minor technical violation that, my supervised release is for I've got another year and 4 months. I've got another 16 months altogether. But I want to be able to travel around, because I have this idea. I want to build this 7 by 8 foot cage, this jail cell. I want to build it out of aluminum, and I want to put it on a trailer, and I want to have it so it can be taken apart in sections, and I want to be able to travel around and go to different places, different venues, theaters, parks, parking lots, just wherever people are gathered. Maybe go to schools, colleges, high schools, elementary schools. Maybe put on a little bit of a presentation called The Cage. Just kind of do a variety of presentations that over, say, 20 minutes or something that, just kind of tee people up just to let them know maybe people want to actually get in the cage just to see what it feels like. Yeah, I mean, Jimmy, we're coming after you first. We're, Jimmy, yeah, Jimmy, we're coming. We're going to have you in the cage, man, while we're driving around. You could, like, be in there, right? We'll say it'll be like a sideshow thing, right? But, yeah, I want to do something like that. Just because, I mean, I've got, my whole life was spent in a cage, basically, until now. I mean, a few years at the beginning, maybe less years probably at the end, but my whole life has been basically spent in a cage. Nonviolent offenses. I mean, they say it's violent if you go in and hand a note to a teller because violence might be used or whatever, but I say that a violent crime is something that involves violence. You got to actually hurt somebody, I believe. And I think they should make a separation between the two. And I think they should back off on putting people in cages for nonviolent offenses. I think if you hurt somebody and it's intentional and it's it's serious, it's not just a push or a shove, it's something serious, then yeah, maybe you're gonna have to take a little time out and get yourself together. But yeah, PETA might get on me, right, Sparky? I drive around with Jimmy, right? Yeah. I just get like admission fees. I go around and get people to throw in the hat, right? Throw some money in the hat to see the convict in the cage. That's funny as hell. Don't have any fur. Yeah, all you gotta do, Jimmy, is put on that orange jumpsuit, right? We'll get a stencil and put county jail or state prison or federal pen on the back. Stencil that on there. Yeah, I could see that. But, yeah, I mean, I want to try to get off of this stuff if possible, because also my dad live a long way away, and, they're old, and I might have to just, any day, I could get a call, and I might have to go over there. I mean, immediately. So what do I do? I gotta have some kind of ability. I'm thinking anyway to travel and to get where I need to be when I need to be there. I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything that violates the technical or formal conditions of my supervised release. Period. Nothing. Zero. I've got a clean slate as far as that's concerned. Yeah, I had a 30 UA, I think it was last summer because of the CBD and the Delta 8 THC, but come to find out, Delta 8 is legal. Delta 9, no. Delta 8, legal. So, kind of had to drop that. But, yeah, I mean, I want to try to just, I want to try to go around and just kind of tell a little bit about my experience, read a little bit out of some of the books, put on some statistical presentations, maybe just like pure education, like here's what's happening, here's how many people are being released every year, here's what reentry looks like, here's what the needs are, here's what's being met, what's not being met. Just put some information, maybe some news stories, because look, there's a lot of friggin' news, man. There's a lot of things that happened, like this dude that they left in solitary confinement for like 2 weeks and they forgot to feed him, or some reason didn't feed him. And he had a little bit of a mental illness, I guess, or maybe a lot of a mental illness, but they came back and he was dead. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on like that, right? Yeah, no, Ethan, I just build it out of aluminum, lightweight aluminum, maybe 1/4-inch panels, and build the panels so that they just clamp together or bolt together, and just have it already assembled on the back of a trailer, and just be able to tow it to wherever I'm going, and either take it down and reassemble it, like at some other site where I can't drive to, or like a school stage or an auditorium or a pavilion, or maybe somewhere where I have a permit to set up in a park or in some public setting, right? And just let people get an awareness. Just let them come up and go in and see how it feels. I mean, just to sit there for a few minutes, let alone weeks, months, years, decades, just a few minutes. I think, I think it's a powerful statement. I think it's got potential. It's just an idea. I want to follow up on it though. And I've got all the drawings, I've got the drawings already drawn out for it. I've got there's 2 or 3 grant applications that I'm working on. So, it's a possibility that I was trying to look for the file right there so I could show you the drawings. But yeah, it's a possibility that I could get up and running with it. And, probably not this year, but maybe later on in the year, maybe at the start of the new school year or what have you. But I am working on that project, and among all of the other stuff, all the other projects. Yeah, the thing is, Zeus, you got to get permission in writing in advance. And sometimes it takes a long time to get because the probation officer isn't just going to sign off like, at least not mine. And so, it might take a couple of weeks or even a few days, but a lot can happen in a few days. So I'm hoping that, because technically, I had a good lawyer from this district, an old timer, old public defender, been around forever, who told me that, typically the judges, when you ask to be off supervised release early, they want you to have a different reason, not just I'm tired of being on supervised release, or I'm doing really good and don't need to be on it. They want you to have a different reason. They want you to have something you can articulate, and something that, you really need to be off of there. And I know a couple other guys that were allowed to get off early because of this guy named Michael, what's his name? Michael. Oh man, I did time with him at Atlanta too. I'll think of it in a minute, but he was going around to the federal prisons, and he was making presentations at the prisons, and he was still on supervised release, and he was making the presentation. So, the judge in his case let him off. But we'll see. It isn't no big deal, really. Yeah, that's the thing. I just gotta get enough little funding together so that I can get some kind of an apparatus. And then I just go out there and I go from one spot to the next to the next. There's a lot of venues across this country. I mean, there's a lot of spots. And I just pull up, man. I just pull up anywhere where there's a group of people hanging about, hanging out, whatever. I'll just pull up and, have the PA system, play some of my original music, some of my songs, read from some books, give a little bit of a speech. Like I say, maybe have a screen, maybe, throw some news stories up there, give some stats, overall stats, some kind of educational push, and, maybe a little bit of scared straight stuff. I don't know. Maybe if it would. See, my theory is this. Yeah, this stuff, maybe you don't. I agree with Chad when it comes right down to it. Maybe you're not going to cause this major epiphany to happen where somebody that's of a criminal mindset just watches your channel or sees your program or performance and says, yeah, I'm not going to do crime anymore. I'm out of that. It's too much risk. The cost far exceeds the benefits here. It doesn't make sense. I'm out of it. I'm going to do what it takes to withdraw myself starting now. Could that happen? Absolutely. But it probably just is planting little seeds, right, that grow later on. So maybe you get the guy who says, who has a gun up against somebody's head, and maybe where before he would have pulled the trigger, now maybe he says, I'm going to let this go. Maybe it's just incremental stuff that eventually kind of helps out, but I don't know. You can only do what you can do, right? But I'm glad to see everybody. I thank you all. We had a great, interesting conversation today. I appreciate each one of you. Definitely, yeah, I think that's right. It's important to be realistic, planting seeds, and even just helping one person, just one little seed, really, that maybe somebody does say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to be locked in a cage like that. No way. I'm going to expose myself to this criminal justice system, especially as effed up as it is. There's no way it doesn't make any sense. So you guys keep doing what you're doing. I love you guys. Appreciate you tuning in. I'll see you right back here again next Tuesday. Please stay in touch. And a lot of mental illness country for sure. Yeah, I think that's right, Zeus. I think that's right. Maybe just some blank slots, right? But yeah, I mean, yeah, because otherwise, what sense does it make to go through an entire lifetime of living in a cage and hating every second of it, and then getting out and not going forward? I mean, I could forget about, trust me, I could easily, try to forget, put most of this behind me and go in a totally different direction, but I think it'd just be a waste of my life experience. I think it happened for a reason, so I'm going to follow up. But anyway, guys, my time is up. I will see you all later next week, same time, same place.